Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome back to a wonderful episode of the Good Leader Podcast. You know, we've been talking about discipline, and today is not about discipline at all. In fact, today is a little bit of therapy for me. It's going to be cathartic. I need to work some things out. So you as the audience, the loyal listeners, are going to help me work through something. But it leads into a good title on leading up. Leading 360. Ons, you're a consumer of all things leadership and books. What's the most common vernacular? Like I say lead 360, like leading around you, leading up. Like when you're not in the positional authority. That's what I'm trying to get at today. Like I am not the boss. I am not the person in charge, but I still have influence. And I want to lead up. I want to lead around.
Leading when you're not in charge?
Leading when you're not in charge?
I think there's a literal book on that.
I
think there's a book on that, yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Leading when you're not in charge.
Team on that, Lim. Leading when not in charge.
Lead without authority.
I think leading without authority.
Keith Ferrazzi.
Well, I'm sure there are multiple books here. I say is Leadership 360 the book by John Maxwell on it?
Probably.
Am I wrong though? I could be wrong. This is the kind of thing maybe I should have researched.
Leading when you're not in charge. But that's what it is. Clay Scroggins. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, Clay Scroggins. Was that
Leading
the guy
when you're
on
not in
American
charge.
Idol? Lost to Ruben.
You could say lead up, lead down, lead all around.
I was going to say there's honestly so many ways.
Well, there are a bunch of books, but that's what I'm saying. So how are people saying it these days? That sounds like a cheer from a 1960s squad.
Lead up.
Lead up. Lead down. Lead all around.
Wow.
Yeah, we can
All
start
right.
that.
Well, that's what they say, actually. They do it just like that.
They do it? That's pretty good then. You know what? All right, fine.
That's exactly what they say.
We nailed it. It is football season, and I know you're big into football. Are you going to be in the fantasy football this year? Are you jumping in?
I'm planning
Don't be
on
a loser. Come on, don't be a loser.
Man, well, we're on a strict budget these days.
Oh, come on.
You know?
You could win like $400.
I could win and then I could lose the 50.
Nah,
if
you're probably gonna win.
If we're not doing the ad drops, I'm thinking I'm going to be
We can talk about that later. Just yes or no. Lemuel, you want to be in? You want to be in the fantasy football?
I might dabble.
We'll
Might
accept-
dabble?
we'll accept you.
$40. You seem like tighter than 2 coats of paint over there.
I'm kind of tight, but I might dabble.
So tight. You got moths coming out of your wallet. Are you that kind of dad? I can see it. I can see them being that kind of dad.
Hey, this house has been just taking our money.
Man, I can't tell you.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I hate money
us
pits.
too.
We just had to buy a new HVAC system. So.
You didn't? Wow. We were just talking about that like 2 weeks ago. Like, man, I wonder if it's on its last leg.
Yep, it's on.
And it was.
It was.
Oh my God.
Prophesied.
Ooh. HVAC.
We had to get one of those
Adulting is
in our
hard.
last house. It was
Yeah.
my son shattered a window. I don't think you were on the call.
No, I missed
And
that.
the hilarious thing is it's a window connected to 9 windows that are all connected. So for them to replace the one,
Wow.
we have to replace
no.
an entire wall of windows.
No way.
Window wall.
Can you just replace the?
It is
can you just
literally a
replace the
window
glass,
wall.
like the glass pane.
No.
That's something.
They say,
Really?
well, we're getting it checked.
You should-
But the last time we inquired about this, because there was a small issue in one of them, but it was small. And they were like, man, and it's just, we have just a really old house. It's built in a metal frame. That's the hard part.
yeah,
So
okay.
they almost can't
Gotcha.
fix
Wow.
a lot without taking out the frame. And then they take out the frame to take out the whole window. So they have literally always told us, man, you want to replace one of those windows, you're going to replace them all. And John and I have said, it's a good thing we're not replacing the windows. Like, that's the one thing about the house that's not ever going to change. And then my beautiful, wonderful son threw a sippy cup at
Was
my
he throwing
husband.
a fit? Fit throwing?
It's still undetermined. I wasn't there. They say, John says they were playing. He's like, I think he threw it at me. So I was like, okay, well, you're making it sound like you're not playing. I'm not entirely sure, but
Wow.
he threw it, shattered. Man, it was.
Big anti-fit guy right here. You can do a lot of things in the Murr household. Don't be throwing a
Yeah.
fit. You throw a fit, you're immediately in trouble. Boom.
We don't do
I don't care.
fits.
If you're 9, 10, 13, or 30, doesn't matter. Don't be throwing a fit. All right? I put myself in timeout when I throw fits.
Yeah.
Well, this is not motivating at all. I think it's time.
Yeah, we
I think
actually
it's time.
went anti.
This is demotivating.
So Lem and I have no money.
Wow,
It's
yeah.
gone to
Wow, I think it's time we, you know what? That means we need to take a little trip into the inspiration zone.
Yes.
Cue the music.
Dooga 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 dooga.
We could have a drop. I think having a musical drop right there would be great. Just play Danger Zone.
Yeah.
Just play like a 10-second clip of Danger Zone.
Gonna start
Yeah, we left it
beatboxing.
wide open for you, Lem. We'll,
Right
we'll
there.
let that sit.
All right, give me the inspiration. All right, Lim, we started with you last time. We'll start with Anj this time. Inspiration Zone. Anything inspiring going on? What are you inspired by?
This is actually a really, again, back to my son. He did something not great, so this is something better. He started kindergarten recently, and so I have the pleasure of walking him to school every day.
Okay.
So getting ready to walk him to
nice.
school. I roll out of bed 6 minutes before I have to take him.
All
So
right.
I'm still waking up. My husband, wide awake as ever. They're just both up so early, so they're like ready to go. He's getting his backpack on, and he says, "All right, Liam, how did he say it? He said, all right, what's the purpose of school? That's what it was. So what's the purpose of school? Number 1, he goes, learn. And then John goes, all right, number 2, he said, have fun. He said, okay, what is it? He said, learn, have fun. Like they rehearsed this crap. He's been in kindergarten for 3 days. I said,
I like this.
Did
I'm
I miss
inspired.
a mantra that we said?
All right.
And I had just woken up, so I was like,
Way
I
to
was
go,
like,
John.
What? But I wasn't going to question. I was like, yeah, learn, have fun. That's right. That's what we're doing. All right, folks, learn, have fun. So he's like marching to school. He's like, I'm going to have a fun day today. I was like, that is so awesome. I am
That's
so
great.
waking up, but this is like, So I was like, wow, look at John being
Look at that.
good, not a parent, a good parent.
It's a parent. He's a parent. All right. That's good. That's good stuff. I am inspired by that. I like that.
I know
Way to go,
it.
John
Well,
Hire.
it really set the tone
That's
for it. We
good.
didn't do it today, and Liam had to fit the whole way to school.
What's it? The fits.
So
I'm not into it.
It said,
Not into the fits.
Yep. This one throws a fit. This specific child of ours.
Okay. I like that mantra, though. I like that. That's good.
good.
All right. Lim, what's inspiring you? Take me to the inspiration zone.
So, in the vein of house remodeling, Pinterest has become my inspiration zone. You know,
Wow.
all the kitchen stuff, the outdoor. Right now, we've got this massive pile of rocks in our yard, and I'm trying to figure out how do we use it, on our sidewalks, on the side of our house, in this flower bed. So I'm just putting rocks everywhere these days. So,
All right.
Pinterest,
Sorting the rocks.
home improvement type stuff is.
That's what I love about
That
the
is
inspiration zone.
inspiring.
I never know where we're going to go. So far, Lim's talking about sweater weather and Pinterest.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep track of Lemuel's
Sound like
inspirations.
a pretty basic.
Wow.
Yeah,
basic.
I'm going to keep track and see.
Yeah.
I got 2 for you today. I am inspired by, number 1, I heard great news. All you fans out there of Branson, Missouri, the Christian Las Vegas,
Yep.
Cracker Barrel had a roller coaster. Fire in the Hole is no longer going to be in existence after this year. This is the last year you can ride the classic Fire in the Hole. But I just found out, thanks to Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay. Shout out to Lindsay. She let me know this week, hey, they are building a brand new Fire in the Hole. And if you have no idea what this is, you can Google it up. But for those that know, this is if you know, you know. You know? If you know, you know.
Yep.
Fire in the Hole, brand new $30 million
Wow.
attraction coming to Silver Dollar City. I'm so excited. I'm very inspired. I'm very inspired by that. When I heard the announcement, I told my girls, they were so devastated. And I said, they got to build another one. I could almost guarantee. I was like, I haven't heard the news, though, so maybe they're not. I bet they're going to build a new one, bigger and better. And they are. So I'm inspired.
30
by this.
million. Better be bigger and better.
Yeah. My second inspiration zone is I watched Remember the Titans with the girls for the first time. Remember the Titans.
nice.
I was inspired. Still holds up. I know this is not the exact story. I don't care. It's
all right.
I'm still inspired.
It inspires nonetheless.
It inspires. Gives me good feelings. So I was
Yep.
like, you know what? This is great. I love this. Cried.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you cried. I
Gary
guess
died.
I'm not
Gary
surprised.
died.
Yeah.
Again.
Yep.
Yeah. Believe it or not, Gary
Yeah.
died again. So
What did someone comment about you one time? They said like, I think they were complimenting you, but it's like, you are the most emotional leader I've ever worked for. Do you
yes,
remember that?
I do. I said thank you.
And he was telling me, I was like, was that a compliment? He was like, well, I think so.
I think it was a compliment. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was
It
a
was.
backhanded
No, I
compliment.
think I think she was saying it as a compliment.
I think I was there for that.
The most emotional leader I've ever worked for. Huh, no problem. Well, speaking of emotional leaders, I went through something that was emotional for me and not very inspiring recently, and it's the basis of us talking about leading up today or leading 360. I got to land on something. Are we calling it lead up or are we calling it lead 360? I'm deferring to you, Anj. You tell me, what are the kids saying these days?
Lead up feels more natural to me.
Lead up. All right, so lead up, meaning how do you lead your leaders? How do you be a leader when you have no positional authority? One phrase that Anj uses a lot is positional power versus personal power. Now, I don't know if you came up with that, but I like it.
I did not actually.
Who came up with it?
I believe
credit
I
where credit's
heard
due.
Craig Groeschel say that at some point.
Personal
Yep.
power versus positional power, which goes, it's the same kind of vibe of like leadership is influence, all those types of things. We rattled off all those books, but that idea is present. Good leadership is not defined by position. However, even people who work for leadership companies sometimes fall prey to human nature. Mm-hmm. And we say things like that. Like when I work with groups and we're talking about leadership, we look up leadership quotes and we have these high aspirations and we think about things from the inspiration zone. Like we just did, like, yeah, that's good leadership. Boom. Leadership is not defined by a position. Leadership is not about a title. Boom. But then we sometimes default in subtle ways to where it's like, well, but that's not my job. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not my responsibility. Well, well, what are you saying then? Like I'm only going to do that if, okay, so here's what happened for me. And it's a good opportunity of saying, because I think that the lead up opportunities are the in-betweens. Leading up is about serving and finding ways to contribute when it is not directly obvious or directed. Like, hey, yes, good. In other words, it's not like, well, if Anj is working for me and I, as the leader, say, hey, Anj, I need you to do X, Y, Z. And she does X, Y, Z. Well, that's not necessarily leading up. That's doing your job.
Yeah.
That's great. I want you to do your job. But leading up is the things that surround that. And so I think these opportunities to lead up are disguised. So today, I want to give a few of my thoughts on this, starting with a story. And then we'll hear, and I did look up an article, which is, I think, just basically a summary of John Maxwell's book. But he's got 9 ways in there that are actually pretty good. What I love about this is it doesn't matter what your position is. This is good for all of us. And even if you're like, oh, I've heard this kind of a million times, man, it really is some good reminders, even for me. Because for me, I am in the position, at least in our little world, of ultimate authority. Like the buck kind of stops with me. I am the president of our organization. But man, how am I leading in my relationship with my wife? How am I leading in ways in my place of worship? How am I leading in ways like a school? Like if you're involved in a school and you're like, well, I'm not the teacher, and I'm mad about this. Well, you're a parent. You're a part of that ecosystem. So lead up. Those are all ways to lead up. Leading when you do not have direct positional authority. Okay. So we got these couple cats that are like stray cats, and they live at our office, HQ. Okay. Now these are just stray cats. I got no problem with the stray cat. Great. Actually, I like them for pest control. You know, they hang out, they're around, they scare off pests, eat mice. Great.
Yep.
We've had these cats for years at this point. These cats, there's one calico and there's one orange one. They sleep under the building. They're just around. I drove by. I happened to be at the office the other day, and I noticed. I was like, that cat's laying really still. This was just like on a weekend. Over the weekend, I had to drop something off, and so I just ran in and ran out. And as I'm backing up, I'm like, that cat's just laying over there in the middle of the yard, really still. And as I'm driving up, I'm like, ooh, I wonder if that cat was dead. Cat might have been dead. Fast forward about 4 days, when we're all showing up to the office, I pull in. The cat is still laying in the same position. So I was like, oh man, the cat was dead. That's a bummer. And I'm sad for the cat.
Yeah.
I really am. Let's not be remiss here. Let's take a moment of silence for the cat. I care about the cat. Okay, I'm not heartless. I love this feline. I get out of my car. Whew. Boy, this little cat has been baking in the hot August Oklahoma sun for a while, and it is rank. It stinks. It's gross. Like it is bad in our entire parking lot area, which is in the back of our office. So immediately I'm like, oh man, I've got to get rid of that cat. That is nasty. This is bad. It stinks. We got to get rid of this cat. So I walk in to put my backpack down and all that. I walk in, and I go, I walk in. Three people are standing in the kitchen, which is kind of the entryway kitchen, getting coffee, which is totally a normal custom of our paradigm shift offices. You get there, you situate your stuff, you wait for the coffee to be brewed. We chit chat. I love that. That's great, actually. So I walk in and oh, you thinking about the cat, are you? We're all standing here talking about the cat. Oh yeah, wonder how long that cat's been there. We got theories. Okay, great. Like they go into a 15-minute thesis. Or hypothesis rather, on like, well, we think it might have been run over. Yeah, we think it might. Okay. Well, it's either that or maybe actually, I think somebody else killed it, and then they just threw it over our fence.
Who are you imitating right now?
That's no one in particular. For our office. This is just me.
He just blended every voice of our entire staff into one whatever.
Hey, I'm really good. I am really good at non-famous impressions, but I'm not doing that now. This is just an avatar. This is just a random person. Okay, so they got these theories. Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, well, whatever the reason, the cat is dead in our parking area. I got to go get it. So I go, I put my stuff down immediately. Like I put my stuff down and go get a shovel. Oh, do we have a shovel? Yeah. Yes, we have a shovel in the prop shed in the garage. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know we had something. Well, okay, we could look.
Sounds like
old lady.
You could look around.
80-year-old.
All right.
80-year-old with cats.
Well, I don't want to indict anybody. I don't want anybody to feel guilty.
Great.
I'm not
Keep
calling
going
anybody
with
under
it.
the bus specifically. I'm not throwing them under the bus. But, okay, then a couple of people followed me. Hey, you need help? And I was like, yeah. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this because I don't want to throw it in the neighbor's yard, I guess. And I was like, so Lindsay asked me, she's like, are you just going to throw it in the dumpster? I was like, I thought of that, but it's still going to stink. Like, even if that was my first thought, but if it's going to stink, she's like, well, we could put it in a trash bag. That's a good idea, envelop the smell. Okay, let's do that. Great. So a couple of people, Kyle and Lindsay, follow me out with trash, grabbed a trash bag, follow me out. Great. We go out. Everybody else just standing there. Still standing there. Okay. Remember, we're talking about leading up now.
Standing there, meaning they stayed in the
Standing
house.
there. I'm sorry.
You all are
Meaning,
now outside.
Yes, meaning they are inside the office, sitting there, presumably talking about us getting the cat and waiting on their coffee. And I only point out the waiting on the coffee because it's not like, hey, the president just called and I'm putting together a workshop for the White House.
Right.
You know what? I'd probably excuse that. Great, keep doing that. No, they're all standing there staring at the coffee pot, not even getting coffee, staring at the coffee pot, waiting for it to be brewed. As Kyle, Lindsay, and I go out, we get the shovel, we get the trash can,
doing
get the
hard
trash
things,
bag, and we get it. We do hard things, and
Picking
it
up
was gross, it was
chairs.
nasty. Now here's the thing. I want to be fair. That's not anybody's job. That's why the podcast is called Leading Up. Okay, that is nobody's job, including mine, by the way, including mine. That's not in my specific job description to remove dead animals from the premises when needed.
Yep.
However, it falls to me, and I feel that responsibility. I want to make it happen. So here's the cat. The dead cat story reveals opportunities to lead. Now, that's what I want to emphasize. It's not a negative. This is not about me holding it against someone, because I truly don't. I really don't. I really don't. I'm not mad. I'm like mad. Like, God, I can't believe you didn't do that. But I'm like, okay, you did not lead up. I'm not mad that you didn't do it, but you missed an opportunity to lead up. And what do we mean by lead up? These opportunities to, and I've got kind of three ways here. It's serve, it's learn, or assist. And we'll come back to that. Serve, learn, assist. I want to remember that, and I want you to table that, and I want to get your thoughts on that in a moment. But to me, I looked at that, and I was like, man, you know what? Anybody could have removed the cat on their own. Like any human working for us is capable of grabbing the shovel, removing the cat, you know? And I think of these individuals, and these individuals all happen to be young leaders. Age doesn't matter. But I specifically think when you're a young person, you're often not in a position of authority, and you want positions of authority.
Right.
You're often like, oh, I want to be a leader. I want to be in charge. I want to do this stuff. Well, then lead up. And that's what many of the books that we listed earlier basically recommend. You know, be the leader. Do what you want others to do. Be the leader you want someone else to be. Anyone could have removed the cat on their own. That's level one. If I would have driven up to the office today, I turn in and somebody's out there with a shovel. You know what I'd have thought? Wow. A+. I am so impressed. I am so thankful. I have a lot of gratitude. I have a lot of appreciation. I have a lot of respect. Like, wow, you did not have to do this. Thank you so much for getting this cat. This is a nasty, no fun, gross job that no one wants to do. And you are picking up chairs, serving others, and doing it. This is incredible. Wow. Coincidentally, I would have pitched in. I would not have said, hey, thanks for doing that. I'm going to go stare at the coffee pot. I would have walked over to help that person finish the job. Even if helping is to just to walk over and say, do you need a hand? No, Jared, it's kind of gross. I've got it. Okay, well, hey, I tell you what, I'll hang out here with you just in case, you need help in a moment. Great. Anyone could have removed the cat. Number two, that's level one. You don't want to remove the cat on your own. Fine. You might say, I don't know if that's my job. I don't know if I'm supposed to. You know what? I'm going to get on my soapbox now. I'm going to be the old man, okay? If you're just not doing something because it's not your job, then you're definitely not leading. Okay, guess what? Leaders do things that aren't their jobs all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Some could argue that is the definition of leadership. That is the difference. That is the difference. The higher you go, the less direct your directive becomes. The more ambiguous your job becomes. And guess what? I just do what needs to be done. I make it happen. So if you're waiting for someone to directly tell you, you are probably training yourself to never be in charge.
Yeah.
It's by doing those things, by stepping into the gaps, that you're training yourself to be a leader. Number two, anybody could have helped me. You know what I'm saying? Like, best case scenario, yeah, wow, you're doing it on your own. Even if you're not, though, I said, man, dead cat out there. Yeah, well, I'm going to grab a shovel. Okay, I'll come help you. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Kyle, Lindsay, I very much appreciate it, And ended up, Lindsay really just was, support, because it was kind of a two-person job. But she was legitimately there like, yeah, do you need help? What do we need to do? Okay. Number three, and this is the lowest level, anybody could have taken any action.
Any action.
Any action. Like, hey, at least make a move toward the trash bag. Hey, I think I'm going to go get that cat. Yeah, I guess I'm going to put it in the dumpster. Like Lindsay just took action. Are you going to throw it in the dumpster? What are you going to do? You know what? I don't know. I need help thinking about this. Maybe a trash bag. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, the trash bag's standing right there or sitting right there next to me staring at the coffee pot, but I'll wait for you to walk over here and get the trash bag to go outside and put the dead cat in the trash bag while I stand here and stare at the coffee pot. Oh, okay, that's cool. take action. Oh, hey, you're going to go get it. Here's a trash bag. Thank you very much. And hey, you may fix you a cup of coffee while you're out there? Hey, pour me a cup of coffee. Upon my return, I was greeted with an empty coffee pot because everybody's already drank all the coffee.
I was going to say, it was actually funny is Lindsay made the first pot of coffee, went and helped you, and then remade the next pot of coffee.
And the only reason I know that is because Lindsay poured the last cup for herself. And when I went to get coffee, she was like, hey, this is the last cup. You can have it. And I was like, oh, you can have it. She's like, I'm making another pot.
And she made the first pot, I think.
That I held against all those yahoos.
Wow.
The other part I didn't hold
everything
against
else,
them.
forget
Everything
about
else
it.
I was forgiven, and that's leading up. That one,
Yeah.
unforgivable sin. All right?
Took the last cup of
if
coffee.
you empty the pot, you fill it back up.
Yeah.
All right, so the point is this. I really don't want to, I don't want to just be a curmudgeon over here and an old man. Because it really isn't about, it truly isn't. And I am objective enough to be like, I'm not holding that against people, but I am saying that's an opportunity. So the point is, when there is these moments of ambiguity, those are opportunities to serve. And I've got 3 of them. Lead the moment, lead the small project, and lead the activity. So if you're looking for what does it mean by lead up? Because I've read those books, and sometimes we're going to finish with John Maxwell's, which I think are really good. But sometimes it's like, we say it's not about positional authority, but then when we think about leading up, we default to only our position. We default to think like, well, I don't know. Like, Anja's my boss, and I don't really know how to lead her. Here's how you lead her. When she is picking up a dead cat, ask her to serve. Hey, you may help you pick up that dead cat?
Yeah.
Now, the dead cat example is kind of ridiculous, and I know that. But it's like, oh, looks like you're going outside. Like, yeah, you're serving a client in this peripheral way. Like, we got to reprint those books. You want me to help with that? That's what I mean by, so 3 things. Leading the moment. I've got some examples. Leading the moment is like in a meeting or in a room when it's like, okay, this is this space. You just lead the moment by saying, oh, well, you know what? Instead of just waiting here, it goes back to, Stephen Covey's be proactive. If I'm sitting in a meeting, it looks like, you know what? It'd probably be good for us to, I'm going to stand up and talk. I'm not like address the room, but I'm going to initiate conversation with people. That's leading up. Like, I'm at this table. I'm not really sure what we're doing today. Meeting's about to start. I'm going to go initiate conversation with that person that I don't really know. That's leading in the moment. Like, that's what I mean. Just lead the moment. If we're saying, I think of us when we go to conferences and things like that. Leading in the moments when we're all sitting around, it's like, there's kind of some confusion on exactly where our booth is or what's going on. You know what? I'll go find the answer.
Yeah.
I'll go track it down. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I've been in those situations a lot where it's actually the default ultimately falls to me as the position of power. But man, it is awesome when someone who is not the ultimate goes, you know what? I can go, what are we talking about? Go find the exhibit hall manager? Yeah, I can go find her. Okay, great. That's awesome. Hey, here's another example. When we're doing that, hey, I already ordered the Uber. I got it. Oh, great. You knew we were packing up to go to the airport. I knew we were packing up to go to the airport. You know, it was awesome of you to take some initiative and order an Uber for us. That's great. Hey, we talked middle of the day about doing something really cool tonight. I went ahead and looked up the Yankee game. There's a Yankee game tonight. I looked up the prices. Y'all kept talking about going to, we went to San Francisco. Y'all kept talking about going to Alcatraz. I went ahead and looked it up. It's not available tonight. Oh, way to lead in the moment.
Yep.
That's leading in the moment. That's leading up. And when you praise, those things are super simple, but I guarantee you your leaders notice. I guarantee your boss notices.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
I think there's a theme in what you're saying that reminds me of a principle someone taught me one time. It's the difference in owners versus renters. If you feel like you own something, you're going to take more initiative. And the principle was stop being a renter and become an owner, whatever your sphere is, whatever your area is.
I'll take that analogy a step further.
Okay.
Not even owning or renting, but you're not a guest in this house.
Sure. That's
good.
good.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted me to call the Uber. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I would love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh goodness, we're sitting at home and that cup is spilled.
Yeah, you live here.
You live here. Grab it. Clean it. Help me clean it up.
That's good.
And that then we take that analogy. When my kids do that, way to go, child. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that is good leadership from a kid. Like, they made a mess, but they jumped up. Oh, sorry, let me grab a washcloth.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about the accident. I wouldn't even be mad necessarily if I would teach them, hey, why don't you help me clean this up? But when they do it on their own, holy cow, way to go.
That's good.
So lead in the moment, leading small projects. That's the same thing, like this cat removal, that's a small project. It's something that's like, okay, this was unplanned, or even if it's planned, this is a small thing. Hey, can I have responsibility for that? Even asking, I'll run with that. Like if you take my conference example, even saying like, hey, you know what? We're going to the conference. Is it okay if I just handle all transportation for us? Oh, well, do you want to handle transportation? Well, I just know it's something's got to be done. I kind of have a knack for it. I'll be happy to. Oh, well, that's great.
Yep.
Like, oh, wow. Okay, yeah, thanks for leading up. Thanks for seeing this as a need. Thanks for seeing those types of opportunities. And it's all these peripheral things. I mean, I'll brag. One thing that this is peripheral and it's small, but that's one thing that Caleb is doing. Even we're preparing for staff retreat, and several people want to go golfing. Caleb is running the golf, and that's good. That's leading up. No one told him to do it.
Yep.
We just said, hey, we have free time. Here are things that are available. Golf is available. A spa is available. I think Dina did it for spa.
Yep.
It's like spa's available. No one assigned it. No one's like, okay, this is in charge. The organizers have given free time for this. Someone took it upon themselves. Dina for the spa, Caleb for the golf, to just say, you know what? Someone has to organize this. It's simple. I will call and make a tee time. I will throw on Slack. Hey, who wants to play golf? Am I missing anybody? How many of us? Great. That's leading up.
Yep.
That's leading up. And it's those small things. And when you phrase it that way, that's why I said this is not complicated. Leading up is not like, hey, you know what? You should shape the direction of your organization for the next 20 years from the position you're in. I think that's why people say, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? It seems impossible.
Yeah.
That is impossible because leading up is not doing that person, not doing your leader's job.
Right.
That's not it. It's leading in the margins. It's leading in the peripherals, and lead in the moment, lead the small project, or lead the activity. And some of these are semantics and kind of the same. But what I mean by that is like, I mean, the golf could be kind of the same thing, but activity is just saying like, hey, let's go grab lunch today. Anybody want to grab lunch today? When I see people on our team do that, even if no one takes people up on it, I applaud their leadership.
Yep.
I applaud the fact that they threw it in Slack and said, hey, I'm thinking about getting lunch. Anybody want to go? That's leadership to me. You're building camaraderie. You're building relationships with people. You're showing an openness. You're showing a willingness to connect and those sorts of ways.
Yep.
When we get back from the break, I want to talk about John Maxwell's 9 ways, and that's where we'll wrap up. And we'll pick our favorite ones. All right? So let's go to the break, and we'll be back with John Maxwell's 9 ways for 360 degrees leadership. We're calling it Lead Up.
Are you looking to increase your merch? Are you looking to increase your swag? Are you willing to set yourself up for sweater weather, as we say here at Paradigm Shift? You can get cards, you can get emoji, 8-track to emoji books, you can get Create Positive Change t-shirts, you can get all sorts of things at ps.company/store. Is that what it was?
That was great. Yeah.
Store? There you go.
Phenomenal.
Slash store, yep.
Phenomenal. I can't wait to spend my money. Here, take my money. Take my money.
Yes.
Take my money. Welcome back after the break. Thank you very much, Mystery Voice, for the ps.company store. We're coming back. We're talking about 360 leadership, lead up. John Maxwell has some great stuff. We recommended several books at the beginning of this. But 9 ways, this is an article from John C. Maxwell's website. You can check it out at johnmaxwell.com. 9 ways to lead your leader. That's how he phrases it. So I like that.
Yeah.
Seems like something you'd like. Lead your leader.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to give you these 9 very quickly. I want you to pick the one that you like the best, and then we'll wrap it up. I gave you my 3 ways, and I think that's kind of an overarching theme here. All right, number 1, lead yourself exceptionally well. Okay, the key to leading yourself well is to learn self-management. In order to be successful, we must make the right decisions early and manage those decisions daily. So lead yourself well. We talked about that over the Discipline podcast, where it's like, man, good leaders lead themselves well. This would almost be like the negative. I think if you're not leading yourself well, you're just showing, like it would probably show up in the negative. Like, wow, that person is not on time. That person is not prepared.
Yeah.
That person is not doing their job. So that to me, I'm glad it's number 1 because that's like the baseline. Number 2, lighten your leader's load. I like this phrase. When the boss succeeds, the organization succeeds. Conversely, it is almost impossible for you to win if your boss fails. I haven't read this particular book, and I haven't really thought of like success and failure like that way.
Sure.
But that's interesting. You know, it's like when the boss succeeds, the organization succeeds. Conversely, it's almost impossible for you to win if your boss fails. That's really good stuff. All right, number 3, be willing to do what others won't. Pick up dead cats. Absolutely. Is it gross? Yes. Is it no fun? Absolutely. Somebody's got to do it. Yes. Be willing to do what others won't. Few things gain the appreciation of a top leader more quickly than an employee with a whatever it takes attitude. Amen,
Yeah.
John.
Come on.
Yeah.
Amen. Seriously, he just said what I said earlier. I didn't even plan this.
Did you just clap hands?
But I was
Nope.
like, wow, that is good. That is so true. Few things gain the appreciation of a top leader more quickly than an employee with a whatever it takes attitude. That's so good. All right, here we go. Number 4, do more than manage, lead. Managers work with processes, leaders work with people. We say that all the time. We say, you manage projects and you lead people. So this is really, I think you use the phrase peer leadership a lot, Anj, and I think really that's what that makes me think of, like leading others. Peer-to-peer leadership. And that's what I was talking about, like take initiative in meetings, take initiative in just arranging lunch.
Yeah, lateral leadership.
Lateral leadership, absolutely. That's good. 5, invest in relationship chemistry. All right. This is really about connection.
That's interesting.
Invest in relationship chemistry. Number 6, be prepared every time you take your leader's time.
Yeah.
I'll say that again.
Prepared.
I knew it. This is an on specialty right there.
Yeah.
Be prepared every time you take your leader's time.
Yeah.
Time is the one commodity that cannot be increased, no matter what a leader does. So it's like, hey, when you are in a meeting, when you have when you have that space, be prepared, be ready. That's so good.
Yep.
Number 7, know when to push and when to back off. Know when to push and know when to back off. See, some of these are tough because they're more art than science, certainly. So it's good on paper. I don't have a really good tangible tip for that, but it's a good thought. Know when to push and when to back off. Successful leaders make the right move at the right moment with the right motive. I actually, of all of that, like the phrase right motive the best.
It's
I like that
exactly
the
what I just
most.
wrote down.
Of all of that. Like know when to push and when to back off, I think is largely about motive.
Yep.
And if you really want to lead well, align your motives with your leader. Because if I feel like you are doing this because it makes your job easier, you are doing this because you are pushing your own agenda, most leaders see through that pretty quickly, and that does not win them over. Okay, all right, here we go. Number 8, become a go-to player. What's the book? Impact Player? Is that the one?
Impact Player.
I haven't read it yet, but that's what I thought of when I read that one. All leaders are looking for people who can step up and make a difference when it matters.
Yep.
When they find such people, they come to rely on them and are inevitably influenced by them. Become a go-to player. And number 9, be better tomorrow than you are today. The key to personal development is being more growth-oriented than goal-oriented. We could use that for the discipline podcast. Am I right? Be more growth-oriented than goal-oriented.
Come on.
So true, but I like that. Be better tomorrow. I say it this way. I will look over first mistakes very quickly.
Yeah.
It's the same mistake that gets me
I agree with
frustrated.
that.
First
Yeah.
mistakes, fine. No problem. I get over that super fast, even if it's big.
Yep.
Wow, that was a mistake. Yep, it was a big one. What'd you learn? What'd you learn? How are we not going to do that again?
Yep.
Great. And now let's move on. Second time, it's like, wow.
Yeah, that one's a harder pill to swallow.
It's a harder pill to swallow. Why did it happen again? Third time? Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you this. The third time, I'm going to have a meeting with Anj, not the person. Seriously, it's like, okay,
Yeah, that's true.
let's talk about what's happening here. First time, it's the person, no big deal. First time, actually, I am 99% encouragement. First time, a mistake, I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. Keep your head up. It's all right.
Yep.
We fail. It's okay. I appreciate the initiative.
Yep.
We're going to get better. Great. Let's grow. Second time, it's corrective. Tell me, okay, what happened? And maybe I'm not the one having it, but this is the type of conversation I want to have. Let's really fix this. This has happened a couple times now. Let's really fix this. Okay, third time. Are we sure they're in the right position? Are we sure that this is
Or that
working?
they're listening.
Or that they're listening, or they're
motivated.
growing, or all those ways. They're certainly not leading up. Okay.
Yeah.
9 things. What's your favorite out of those? And then we'll close shop. What's your favorite? Those are good. I like those.
I have a lot to say on this topic. Obviously, it's a whole part two.
Okay,
so
we'll
I'm
do a
just
part
going to
two.
do a quick,
Okay, all right.
high level here, and there's 2 I'm going to combine. So, my first thought when you started talking back in part 1 before our wonderfully executed commercial, back then, you had said something about basically leading up, and it creates good leaders and all these things. There's this quote. I think it actually also might be Craig Rochelle. He talks a lot on this topic, but it was. Your ability to lead up now will determine your ability to move up later.
Oh, okay.
It's something he says. I personally, for my personality, I love that quote. But I have learned, you've learned this too because you talked about it. Actually, not everyone wants to move up.
Yep. Yep.
People actually are not in charge and are okay not being.
Right.
Like I would venture to say, theoretically, the ones who don't go out and pick up the cat may actually be okay with not having to be in charge to ever make that decision ever.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we're a leadership podcast, but
Right.
we're also, I would say, pretty high level leaders. It's easy for us to say, well, lead up, do the thing. I've learned some people don't want to. They want to come in, they want to do their job. They're not actually interested in moving up, which would then mean they're not interested in leading up, which would then mean they're content where they are. And so I was thinking that because I'm like, well, okay, then how do you motivate that? So then why would you, I need a different reason to lead up if we're saying my intrinsic motivation is to move up and it's not there. Well, then I need a different reason. So I loved what they said there, like it's lightening your load, because if you lighten your leader's load, and that adds to the success of the leader, that adds to the success of the organization, and that is adding your ownership mindset. I do not think you have to inherently be a leader or want to move up in order to own where you're at in your organization and in order for you to want your organization to succeed. I think sometimes we muddy those waters.
Yes.
I think it's okay if you don't want to move up, but I think no matter where you are, you should want your organization to succeed.
Yes.
You should
That's
want
good.
your job to succeed. If you're okay staying in that job for 10 years, that's okay. Honestly, we need some people too, or it would be really hard for all of us to accomplish what it is that we want to accomplish in life. Great. That's okay. Be there. But your motive then should be your organization to succeed.
Yes.
So if we're saying that for an organization to succeed, you have to lead up as a leader, well, then that changes it. So now we're not just talking to the future leaders of the world, young leaders of the world, you want to lead, you want to be in charge, this is for you. No, you want success, you want your team to grow, you want your culture to thrive, you want your company to grow, revenue, be successful, well, then lead up. So
Yes.
you don't get out of this just because you're like, well, actually, Jared, to answer your first question at the beginning, I am fine with that. Like, I actually am okay not being in charge. That's exactly what I want to do. Okay, are you okay then getting out of that renter's mentality, kind of, as Lem said? So I just think it all comes back down to motive, and that there's a lot of different ways that you can be willing to lead up, not just with the intent of the result being to be a leader later on.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff.
But
Lims?
for the achievers of the world, I do think lead up now to determine moving up later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get to the idea of just service, and like the,
Yep.
Mother Teresa quotes of you do the dish because you love the person going to eat from the dish.
Yep.
That's it. No.
Yep.
Lindsay, you can correct me on that
Well,
later.
and we say everyone should be a servant leader. So great. You don't want to be a leader who moves up. You don't want
Right.
to be in charge. But you can still serve. You can still assist. You can still develop.
Absolutely.
You can still grow as an individual and not move laterally up, down, across, whatever
Right.
in an organization. And if you don't have that motivation, I would really challenge you, like even in your job and in your role. Are you in the right role then?
Well, even if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you want to be a better leader. Even
Right.
if you're not saying, well, I don't care about being in charge. Like you said, I don't care
Yep.
about moving up the corporate ladder.
but I want to develop.
But I want to
to
develop.
grow.
I want to be a
Yep.
better leader. This is the Good Leader podcast. Well, good leaders serve.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good leaders lead up. Good leaders take these opportunities in between. Lemuel, what stood out to you?
I think the most curious one to me was the invest in relationship chemistry, but I think my favorite one would be number 6, be prepared every time you take your leader's time, because I feel like that speaks to a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Honoring your boss's time, the people around you, honoring their time to, so they don't have to do your job. Because there have been moments when I've led people and I walk into like a meeting and they're asking me to think
Yep.
for them.
Oh, yeah.
So so I'm not always great at this, but I don't know, that stuck out to me.
That's good stuff.
I
well,
love that.
we are definitely going to come back with a part 2 on this because I think we're just scratching the surface. So the summary takeaway of today for me is leading in the margins. That's what to me leading up is. It's not the direct, well, how do I lead in my position with these projects that we're in charge of or doing someone else's job? It's actually the things that are not anyone's job.
Yep.
It's the stuff in between. It's the side projects. It's lightening the load. We gave you several examples throughout the time, but I want you to think of your organization, your household. If you think of your relationship with your spouse, and we're going to come back. I mentioned those things: serve, learn, and assist. We'll pick that. We'll pick it up there because I think those are kind of a shortcut. You think of those 9 things. Okay, that's kind of a book and a big thesis and this essay. These 3 things are the shorthand version, and I'd love for Anj to unpack her thoughts because I know she spent a lot of time here because she spends a lot of her time working with those mid-level managers or even frontline employees who do not have positional authority. But we're trying to teach and train, not just within our organization, but other organizations. How do you lead up? How do you move from that renter's mentality to an owner's mentality? And if you're in this position and wanting to be a good leader, it's on the sides. It's in the peripherals. So, lesson of the day, pick up the dead cat. If it's there, somebody's got to do it. Pick up the dead cat, be a good leader.